Live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. You got the right to live. So go and live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. Let's start the party. Start the party. Live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. You got the right to live. So go and live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. Let's start the party. Start the party. Live it up.
I'm dangerous like tightrope. No talking, not that of a maestro. More like that lizard from Geico. When I lick, you go psycho. Downtown, I'm more famous than Michael. My game, I gave it to Tycho. Gene Simmons up my time. Whoa, got mind control. Damn control. Up to your spine and back down to your toes. Melt you, little mama, like Pile mode.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Xander Effect. I'm your host, Xander Dames. In entertainment news today, Comic-Con has been canceled for the first time since it started 50 years ago. We'll talk a little bit about that. In sports, looks like the NBA is going to be making some pay cuts due to the current crisis, so we'll talk a little bit about that. In video game news, Call of Duty Modern Warfare looks like the game developers have decided to make up for their little snafu last weekend and the whole double XP fiasco. We'll talk a little bit about how they're making up for it. And today I have an awesome guest, Media Mogul and Co-Founder of E-Entertainment Television, Larry Namer, comes in and talks to me a little bit about how he got started in the industry, how the spectrum of the industry is changing, and about a series that's about to premiere very soon called Nova Vita and how he's involved in that. So we'll talk a little bit to him about that. But before we get started, here is J-Sunn's brand new song, Come With Me, right here on the Xander Effect.
You're so sweet, run with me, I'll give you everything you need. Babe, I really miss that sound. Babe, I'll get it right now. Raindrops in my window, need a slice, no Kimbo. Really miss that tempo, oh love Nintendo. Get the bread, no bimbo. That's what you'll say, that's what she'll say. You run a game, no relay. These cheap dates like sweepstakes, cheesesteaks and cheesecakes. Be great, no EJ. We fight, then we play. No cap, what's all that? Love and hate to go right back. This and love, catch a flight back. No time, rewind that. You said you want to grow with me. Got it wrong, I'm molding me. Investigating, provoking me. Take a stand, no perjury. Dig deep, no surgery. What's worse than hurting me? Got it mapped so perfectly. It's a job, come work with me. Come with me, girl, you're so sweet. Run with me, I'll give you everything you need. Babe, I really miss that sound. Babe, I'll get it right now. Come with me, run with me. Babe, I'll get it right now. I used to make you scream, Hercules, Hercules. Your homegirls are hood rats. I'm trying to show you birds and bees. Get your legal on, go ahead and spread your wings. I can see your tendencies, you're talking to my enemies. You ain't the girl I used to know, you're typical and usual. Seen you from a mile away, a needle in a stack of hate. Kobe Jordan featherweight, I never let that hesitate. Middle finger levitate, you can let that marinate. Come with me, run with me. Babe, I'll get it right now. Come with me, girl, you're so sweet. Run with me, I'll give you everything you need. Babe, I really miss that sound. Babe, I'll get it right now. Come with me, run with me. Babe, I'll get it right now.
That was J-Sunn's Come With Me right here on the Xander Effect. In entertainment news, Comic-Con has been officially canceled, which, you know, to be honest with you, it's no surprise to anybody. The current crisis of COVID-19 has made a lot of events cancel. Coachella, Burning Man, many concerts, sporting events, everything's been canceled so far. And it's no surprise that COVID-19 was going to cause the annual event of Comic-Con to cancel for this year as well. It started 50 years ago. It's 50 years in the making, and unfortunately, for the first time since it started, it's officially canceled. The Comic-Con members that throw the event released a statement saying, quote, recognizing that countless attendees save and plan for its conventions each year and how many exhibitors and stakeholders rely upon its event for a major portion of their livelihood, they have hoped to delay this decision in anticipation that COVID-19 concerns might lessen by summer. Continuous monitoring of health advisories and recent statements by the governor of California have made it clear that it would not be safe to move forward with plans for this year. So basically, they're looking to reschedule it for next year. By the looks of it, they have a scheduled date, which is July 22nd through 25th of 2021. That's what's going on. That's pretty much what they've decided to do. Another event that's also decided to cancel has been WonderCon. That is held in Anaheim. They have also canceled their event, and they've also rescheduled their event for March 26th through 28th of 2021. So at this point, these events are no longer going to be for this year, which again comes as no surprise. As also Los Angeles Mayor Garcetti also said that in a statement, in an announcement, that he was considering banning all sporting events and all concerts, all types of large crowd gathering types of events until 2021. So again, this situation has caused many of these things to happen, and we'll see what happens next year. Hopefully the current crisis will start lessening a little bit, and maybe things might change, but as it stands, looks like a lot of major events will be slated until next year. Hopefully by next year things will have calmed down. In other entertainment news, Bruce Willis, Demi Moore, and the entire family have decided to quarantine with each other in Sun Valley, Idaho. And it seems that many people are kind of raising an eyebrow as to why Bruce Willis is quarantining with his ex and his children from his previous marriage. And it doesn't, they decided to go ahead and tell Entertainment Tonight the reason why this is happening. Well, sources have told direct sources have told Entertainment Tonight as to why Bruce Willis has decided to quarantine with his ex, Demi Moore, and his children. And it is very simple. Apparently, according to sources, they're saying, quote, he has a house directly across the street from Demi's house in Sun Valley. It's been for sale for years. He was visiting and his family was considering quarantining there. He got stuck because Sun Valley became one of the COVID-19 hotspots. So at the end of the day, he was out there and he got stuck. He basically got stuck with his family. And it looks like his current wife, Emma, is okay because Bruce Willis is currently married with Emma Hemming. And it seems that Emma's okay with Bruce staying with his ex. And she's fine with it. According to many sources, it seems that Emma is perfectly fine with it. And Bruce is in constant contact with his wife and their daughters. So it doesn't seem like it's anything weird. Apparently, many sources are saying that Emma, Demi, and Bruce all have a really friendly relationship with one another. There is no type of concern whatsoever with them or anything like that. And it just seems like the media is making more of a mountain out of a molehill at this point because nothing's really going on. They're just all trying to be safe, and it looks like everything's fine. There is no trouble in paradise between Bruce and Emma, and Bruce is not going to be getting back with Demi, so everybody needs to pretty much stop thinking that there's anything more than what's really happening, and that's just they're all just trying to be safe with one another and remain isolated with one another until this crisis has been averted, or at the very least until there's some sort of, okay, you can go ahead and go back home type of situation. In other entertainment news, I had the opportunity to go ahead and interview major media mogul Larry Namer. Larry is the co-founder of the E! Channel, E! Entertainment Television, and he basically told me about how he got started. He went from being an economics graduate with a degree in economics to becoming one of television's huge moguls in this incredible channel that has become incredibly popular over the years. He also talked about a brand new project called Nova Vita that he is involved with. But before we get into that interview, here is Amanda Holley's Runaway right here on the Xander Effect.
No, I don't give a damn. You just screwed up, it's your chance. I'm on a new wave, and need to slow it down, but pump your brakes. Switching double lanes, boy, you are lame. You talk that talk, but you can't back it up. Feeling some kind of way, I had enough. I'ma let you run. Run away, run away, run away, run away. But you ain't gon' break my heart, boy. Run away, run away, run away, run away. Ain't got no time to beg, no place to make. But mine today, no place to play. I'ma let you run, boy. Run away, run away, run away, run away. Feeling yourself, you got nerve. You got blocked, you got curved. I'm on a new wave, and need to slow it down, but pump your brakes. Switching double lanes, boy, you are lame. You talk that talk, but you can't back it up. Feeling some kind of way, I had enough. I'ma let you run, boy. Run away, run away, run away, run away. But you ain't gon' break my heart, boy. Run away, run away, run away, run away. Ain't got no time to play, no place to make. For mine today, no place to play. I'ma let you run, boy. Run away, run away, run away, run away. Run, boy, run, boy. Run, boy, run, boy. You run, I'ma let you run. Run away, run away, run away, run away. But you ain't gon' break my heart, run away, run away, run away. Ain't got no time to play, no place to make. Money there, no place to play. I'ma let you run, boy. Run away, run away, run away, run away.
So on the Xander Effect, I have media mogul and co-founder of E! Television, Larry Namer, here today. Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, lockdown in Encino.
I mean, it's a crazy situation that's going on around the world, and I know that it's affecting everybody, especially also in the entertainment industry, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's just about all production is shut down now. And, the stuff that we had going in the US and Europe is shut down. And we had a few series on TV in China that's now shut down. So it's just, it'll be over when it's over. So there's nothing to do but sit and wait.
And do interviews, because I mean that's the only cool part about technology, is that you're able to actually do an interview and not be in the same room with one another. So that's always a good thing, and I'm glad that I'm able to have you here on the show, because your story is very interesting. Actually, you're not from Los Angeles, you're from Brooklyn. You're from the East Coast, and the way you started your life wasn't exactly in the entertainment industry. You have a degree in economics, and you went from economics to being a cable splicer. How did that happen? How did you go from one thing to something completely different?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Brooklyn before Brooklyn became cool to live in. And, now it's trendy to live in Brooklyn, but it wasn't so trendy back then.
Yeah.
And, middle class or lower middle class family. My father was a truck driver and my mom worked for the Department of Social Services. And I was the first kid ever to go to college. And, I went because literally I would be beaten if I didn't. And, so I graduated with a degree in economics. And my plan was I was going to teach history and economics or both.
Oh, wow.
And the city of New York cut the budgets because there was a financial crisis and they weren't going to hire any more teachers. So I took what I thought would be kind of a mindless summer job, working for what then was, the very early days of cable TV. And, I figured I would just do it for a little while until I figured out what I'll do in my degree. And they gave me a job as an assistant underground splicer in Manhattan, which meant, I would go with the main splicer and we'd go down under the streets of New York through the manholes and we would put together the cables that, would then be the cable system that now exists as Manhattan Cable. So, it was quite a journey.
Wow, that's incredible. But, during this whole time, slowly but surely you started getting into the media version of cable splicing, really. I mean, it went from there to get into the media because I know that that Manhattan Cable was acquired by Time Inc.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So from there, I mean, you were there for several years. And you became vice chairman of the cable division of the Electrical Workers Union.
Yeah, I started, I was on the technical side and I was a union member and I eventually rose to become the vice chairman of the division representing all the cable workers in kind of the Northeast of the U.S. And, I think I was all of 23 years old then, which was kind of funny. So Time Inc. bought the company and human resources became more sophisticated and you kind of had all the Harvard and Yale guys up on 6th Avenue trying to, wondering what it is those guys do that go down in the sewers every day and put the cables together and all of that, So, one of the people in HR went and said, hey, we got this guy that's got an economics degree that works with them, maybe he could become the translator. I found I had a very interesting role, in that I was kind of the in-between between, the Harvard and Yaleys and the tech guys. And eventually they asked me to go into management. So I left the union and I became, over the years, I was the head of service and installation, and then they had a construction, and I eventually ended up being director of operations.
Wow.
And so all the technical departments reported to me.
And all this from a summer job.
Yeah, I think I was 25 and I had like 300 people reporting to me, which was just bizarre.
Wow.
And, and then I ended up getting, as Time Inc. really began to realize that there's more uses for cable than just, showing entertainment programming. They made me the head of corporate development, and I was responsible for finding other uses of cable other than entertainment. So even, it was pre-internet, we were doing data communications, remote medical diagnostics, all those things that are common on the internet today, we were doing literally 10 years before there was an internet. And using the spare cables that were under the city of New York to connect banks uptown with their computers downtown and on and on. And then, the big cities began to realize that cable wasn't just something for rural communities to get good reception. They would look at Manhattan and see that it thrives in an urban environment. And so they started franchising cable, and most of them didn't want cables to go on telephone poles, because most big cities don't have telephone poles anyway. Mm-hmm. They wanted everything to go underground. So I was fortunate enough that, I knew how to build underground cable systems. So I got recruited by a company that won the franchise in Los Angeles for the San Fernando Valley. Mm. And it was going to be the first 61 channel cable system, two-way interactive ever built, which although I didn't want to leave New York, it was an incredible opportunity for me. So I came out to LA and, took over. And then I was 30 and I was the general manager, and they basically gave me a franchise from the city piece of paper, and they gave me a loan from the bank piece of paper, and they said, okay, now build us a cable system.
Wow.
And but
that's a lot of pressure for a 30-year-old.
Yeah, then I had finance reporting to me, programming for the first time reported to me, and that's where I really began to become interested in the programming side of the business. And we did a lot of interesting stuff at Valley Cable, as it was known, and we were actually we won some Emmy Awards and ACE Awards, and we're actually named by Forbes magazine as the national model for cable TV programming. So that's where I got the bug.
And that's when that's where you decided to team up with Alan Rufka to begin to actually create an entertainment channel yourselves.
Yeah, it was, the company that I worked for was a Canadian company, and they had sold and they moved back to Toronto. And, I just said, listen, I didn't move from New York to LA to go to Toronto. I mean, I was starting to enjoy those beautiful, winters with, my T-shirt sitting out of the pool. And so Alan and I, who's a friend from New Jersey, we just said, let's do something for ourselves. And we came up with the idea. Initially we called it Movie Time. It was like Entertainment Tonight, 24 hours a day, or MTV of the movies. And we wrote a plan, and we thought it was brilliant, and people would read it and they'd say, this is a great idea, but you're not Rupert Murdoch or Ted Turner. You can't just wake up and start a TV network.
Yeah.
And Alan and I just were not smart enough, I guess, to listen to those people, because we stuck with it for 3.5 years before we got the first dollar invested. And
wow, so it wasn't something from you just showed them something, and just because you had experience in the industry, they immediately gave you the open, the green light to start a network. This actually took time.
Well, yeah, it took 3.5 years before they finally did it. We found a Bond Street on Wall Street that had just opened an investment banking division, and they were looking for deals. And we met with the guy, and he's like all excited. He goes, "Oh, I was the entertainment reporter at my college, and blah blah blah, and I love this." And he said, "I could give you $2.5 million." And I said, "Well, but it costs 60 to 100 to start a TV network." And he goes, "But I'm only allowed to sign for 2.5." And we said, we looked at each other and we said, "You know what? Sure, let's do it." And so he gave us $2.5 million, and we. I called some friends that were teaching radio, television, film in Austin, Texas, UT, and he sent us a bunch of interns, and we started the company literally with $2.5 million, 11 employees, and 31 interns.
Wow.
And then when it went on the air, everybody said, "Oh, why don't you tell us that's what you wanted to do? We would have given it 23 years ago."
Of course, all of a sudden they started seeing the success of the channel. That's when they were like, well, we didn't know that this is going to happen.
Yeah, and people ask me, they say, when did you know it was going to be successful? And, the answer is from the first day we had the idea. It was so obvious to us that the world, not just the U.S., just loves this, Hollywood gossip and stars and celebs and, all of that. We couldn't see any way that it could possibly fail. So the second we flipped that switch, we knew that we were, onto something big. And, now if you look at it, it's in 140 countries.
It's huge.
And, it's arguably it's the biggest influence. People talk about influencers now. Well, there's no bigger pop culture influencer than E.
And to be honest, I mean, and it's not, I don't want to go ahead and be presumptuous, but in my opinion, I think that E kind of overshadowed Entertainment Tonight and other shows such as Extra, because it would seem, because the E channel is exactly that. It's a channel completely and utterly devoted to entertainment television. And these are shows that are on a network that only shows a portion of entertainment. So it would seem that your idea was right on target to what people were very very much interested in, because they would only get a taste, with these shows, but on each channel you get it 24/7. So this is a very brilliant idea of yours. Now my question is, did you have any ideas prior to E Entertainment, or was this the first and most idea that you had?
Well, it was the first one that I wanted to do for myself, So, I mean, I had lots of ideas, but I did them for other people, and I made a lot of other people a lot of money. That was the first time that, I said, you know what, I'm staying in California and I'm doing this myself.
Wow, great choice on that, because I mean the channel has become huge. Have you ever but do you still get compared to like Entertainment Tonight? Do you still I mean, was that happening when you first started?
Oh yeah, everybody was going, oh, what does anybody need a channel for? We have Entertainment Tonight. We just looked at it and said, the media world has changed. And if you really think about cable at that time, everybody likened it to being an electronic newspaper. And you think about it, so CNN was the headlines and ESPN was the sports and Home Shopping Network was the ads. And we looked at it and said the second most read section of any newspaper is the entertainment pages. Mm-hmm. And that's clearly missing. So that's what kind of, led us on to like never giving up, because we knew we were on to the right thing. So.
But I mean, the other thing too is that you're also, in a sense, you're also a visionary, because you tend to see a lot of things ahead of their time. I mean, starting with E Television, but you were also involved as being a consultant to Microsoft as well. And you've had it seems like you've had your hand in a lot of things that were up and coming that back then, like, now that we see it today, back then we would have never imagined how big these things would have been. Like how do you react to something like that? Like, you see something grow, you see something and you're like, this is going to be big, but you don't imagine how big it's going to be, or do you already know?
Well, people ask me, how do you do that? And, it didn't come, we think my mother might have dropped me on my head when I was a kid, because my brain seems to function different than most people. But I've kind of got instinct for, I don't relish the past. I mean, I like looking at the past and learning from it, but I'm always thinking about, okay, how does whatever the new thing is, how does it affect the future? What's things going to be like in 10 years, 20 years? And, that's kind of always been the way I thought. So when you look at, some stuff, I mean, I was the primary consultant to Microsoft for interactive TV back in the 90s. And, now interactive TV has kind of become a little more of a reality. You have digital networks now and everything's on demand and stuff like that, but we envisioned that stuff 25 years ago, and we did demos on it, and we did economic theories and all that stuff. And then, I saw that the communist wall in the Soviet Union were going to collapse, and I started a company in Russia back in the 90s. And, we were the biggest concert company there, and we did over 300 concerts there. And we had the biggest TV show in Russia for 10 years. And then I started really looking into China. So, when I got into China 10 years ago, it was interesting because our first show was called Hello Hollywood, which think of, e-news, but done, with a Chinese host and for a Chinese audience. And, when I would talk to publicists who knew me, I'd say I need to get on the red carpet for the Academy Awards or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. They would go, Larry, we really don't want to give up a spot on the red carpet. We don't really care about China. You cut to like 7 years later, and, they'd be calling me up and going, oh my God, China's now the biggest movie market in the world. Yeah. Cover our new premiere. Mm-hmm. So, we did see it very early. And we were there, we planted our flag, so to speak. And, we're still there. We still do a lot of stuff in China. And it's because it gives us an opportunity to not just do a lot of programming, but they're much more advanced than us in terms of cell phone use and e-commerce and stuff like that. So a lot of the theories that I worked on with Microsoft, which you couldn't deploy because the technological infrastructure wasn't there, I found existed in China, and I could go there and play with all the stuff that I've always dreamt about.
Wow, that's and so far it's starting to grow. Unfortunately, with this crisis, it's slowed things down a little bit. But China is definitely a country that many people, and I agree with you, many people are starting to take a look at right now. But I mean, obviously, you got a lot of time, to do so, because shortly after you sold your shares to Comcast. So now Comcast owns a significant amount of E. So it gives you time for other projects as well.
I think they placed it under the NBC Universal banner, so they run totally autonomously. I mean, I'm the figurehead founder, and so once you have a kid, it's always going to be your kid, no matter what they do or how badly they act.
But they have to grow on their own. There, there comes a point where you cut the cord.
It's given me the time. For me, it was time. People go, "Why did you sell it?" And stuff. And the answer is very simple: I got bored. It grew so big, and I found myself spending my day, instead of being creative and coming up with new shows like Pop Soup and all that stuff, that I was spending my time in a boardroom doing budgets and analysis and all the stuff that I didn't want to do. So it was a great time for me to sell, and I got to go out on my own. And, like I said, we've done all Microsoft. I've done, Russia for 10 years. China. This is now my 10th year in China and stuff. So it's been fun. I have no regrets that I ever sold it at all.
So we talked about, I asked you, about, or you mentioned, actually, I should say, you mentioned how things are changing. Things are always changing in the entertainment industry. Streaming networks such as Hulu, such as Netflix, such as all these streaming networks are starting to grow. Do you see the television might be slowly but surely becoming obsolete, seeing as the spectrum is starting to change into more technological era?
It's a matter of semantics, definition. If I watch Netflix on my 65-inch TV at home, am I watching something different, or am I watching TV? I mean, at the end of the day, the consumer doesn't care how the program gets to their house. It could come on an internet wire, it could come over the air, it could come cable. Doesn't make a difference. It's storytelling. Is it good storytelling executed properly? So, storytellers are, people who've done movies and TV now do Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all that. It's all the same. We're content creators. We're storytellers. Whatever the platform is, that's great. Doesn't make a difference. The customer at home, I think the cable business, cable subscription goes down. But at the end of the day, it boils down to what we, advised Microsoft, way back, that, linear television, the way it's existed, will no longer exist that way. So instead of trying to fight it and maintain the old, just adapt to it and, become the new. And I always used to say, very simple thing. Do you want to watch what NBC wants you to watch when they want you to watch it? Or do you want to watch what you want to watch whenever you want to watch it? And the answer is obvious. So, of course, linear television, where you had to watch, Thursday night NBC's lineup, those days are gone. You watch what you want to watch, when you want to watch it, and you watch it on whatever device you want to watch it on. So
very true.
All the power has been given back to the consumer. We saw it coming. We lauded it coming. We begged people to embrace it, not fight it. Some of them listened, some of them didn't. But, like I say, it's a simple equation. Why do I want to watch 60 Minutes on Sunday night at 7 o'clock when I should be out, having dinner with friends, and I could watch 60 Minutes whenever I want?
True. Very true. And I mean, but from an economic standpoint, do you think that these streaming networks are hurting, regular mainstream channels?
Well, I think anybody who's stuck to the linear TV formula is hurting. Again, why would I want to watch, HBO at a given time when they show a movie where I could, watch the on-demand version and watch the movie I want whenever I want. So they become, not so much networks as I would call storytellers or programmers. And, for people like myself, we make stuff, it really doesn't make a difference what platform it goes on, as long as people have access to it and they can watch it when they want and on whatever device they want. So, from the producer's point of view, the world has never been better.
True. And you know what? It's a beautiful thing because, like you said, it does give the consumer the power back to basically, be more free to do a lot more, with their own personal lives instead of having to. and I want to go back for a second, back in the day when you had to like put a tape in the VCR and, tape it because you were afraid you're going to miss your episode. So now it's like, okay, you don't have to miss anything. You have it right then and there. You can watch it whenever you want. So that's actually it was actually a really good idea to give the consumer their power back. But a lot of these networks, they tend to use commercials in order to pay for their networks and everything. And so I'm wondering if that's also going to maybe have a little bit of an impact, if, because a lot of these streaming networks, they don't do commercials. They have the option to not, like, for example, Hulu, for an extra, $2, $6 a month, something like that, you have a commercial free, opportunity to watch all your shows. So that's another thing that I'm wondering if that also hurts networks as well, because seeing as there's, commercials are the ones, sponsors are the ones that are helping these channels continue to thrive. So I'm wondering if that's also going to hurt them.
Well, I think hurt is not the right word. Change is the better word. If you look at the music business, for 10 years, they resisted, the digital world, the iTunes and, all of that stuff. So instead of embracing the technology, they bought it. Now they embrace it. So the business has changed. So before they used to sell you, an album for $20, and on the album would be, 1 or 2 good songs and 8 bad songs, but you still got charged for the whole thing. And then they realized that, pirates are going to figure out a way to steal it, and they were no longer going to be able to get away with inferior products. So they had to adjust. They had to embrace the iTunes of the world, and then you've had a very robust and profitable music business arise once again. So in the TV world, so yes, they've relied on advertising, and look, at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay for the programming. I mean, I can't make programming and give it to someone for nothing. The network is going to have to pay me for it in some way. They got to get back the money. They either got to get it back from advertising because the program delivers eyeballs, or through subscription. So if you look at companies like, Netflix, they've adapted the subscription model, and there's, I don't even know what their numbers are now. 1 billion people or 100 some odd million people that are paying $14 a month for it. That's a heck of a lot of money. Or you look at a Hulu, which has said, we'll do a hybrid model. You could watch it without commercials, for this amount of monthly, or you could watch it, with commercials, and we'll then get the money from advertising. So, I think people are still playing with the model. I love the hybrid model. Is give me the choice. I could watch it with advertising and get it for free, or watch it with no advertising and pay for it. But let the consumer decide which way they want it.
Do you think that these networks are starting to follow suit? Because, for example, when Hulu and Netflix, all these other streaming sites started happening, suddenly you have the CBS network, HBO, Comedy Central, FX. You have all these networks starting to have their own streaming sites. Do you think that E might actually also follow suit in that as well?
Absolutely. I think everybody's got to follow it, because at the end of the day, fixed position programming does not hold up under any economic model. People are weaning themselves off of that, the way they used to watch TV, and everybody is finding, the new way. And again, the technology that gets it to your device, whatever your device is irrelevant to the consumer. It's the quality of the content.
Wow. Well, I mean, so in other words, we eventually we will be seeing an streaming site, I'm sure.
Well, you look at E Online, so E Online was one of the first TV networks ever to really build a robust online business
Hmm.
there. And yeah, I mean, it's who wants to sit through an hour of programming that I don't really care about to get to, 10 minutes of programming that I do care about. So I think everything becomes on demand. Uh, I think that, somebody will develop smart agents where literally people will be able to comb the world of content that's out there, and it's huge now. You can't keep track of it. And literally every single person on the planet will build a TV network of their own liking.
Very true. And that's and you know what? I mean, more power to them. More power to every single one of them to go ahead and continue to try to grow this trend that's actually growing in astronomical numbers, actually, especially right now since everybody's at home. I'm sure that they're starting to see the value of streaming sites just go up like crazy. I mean, from what I understand, Disney Plus has gotten so many viewers and so many subscriptions that it's insane, especially with the kids that are staying at home.
Yep.
Parents are buying Disney Plus like crazy because they want to entertain their kids because there's no school. So I mean, it's incredible. Speaking of new shows, speaking of production, you're involved in a brand new crime drama called Nova Vita. What's that about?
It's I don't want to give away too much. We just announced it. It was a show. I'm one of the executive producers. I'm not sole, but it's a really nice, futuristic kind of, or scientific crime drama. Where somebody takes on a new identity to stop from, going to jail for a Bitcoin fraud or something like that. And uh, originally we were not going to take it out until summer, but we shot it. We financed it internally, so we didn't have to go out to a network and ask them to pay for it. And plus, creatively, we knew what we wanted to do, so we didn't want anybody interfering with what our vision for the program was. And so we shot it. We were taking our time editing it, but now with this pandemic and the quarantine, all these digital networks are wondering where their next new show is going to come from, because your production is at a halt. So we said, you know what, let's finish up the post-production on this really quick and get it out into the market when there's an incredible demand for, any new series. And this one it's 10 parts in season 1.
And the good thing is that it's already been filmed. Actually, it was filmed before the shutdown began.
Yep, it's already filmed, it's already edited, and literally, a Netflix or an Amazon or anybody can, license it from us, and it could be on the air next week if they want it.
Wow, this is incredible. But the really cool part is that this series talks about cryptocurrency billionaires who turned to revolutionary company Nova Vita.
Yep.
But what's really cool is that you guys included the cryptocurrency. Not many shows talk about that specifically. So that's actually very interesting that these guys they included that into the series.
Yeah, well, again, it goes with, our thinking of, some certain things are inevitable. Governments and countries can fight against crypto all they want, but at the end of the day, it makes all the sense in the world.
This is going to be an interesting show to watch. I'm hoping that it comes out soon. But other than Nova Vita, are there any other projects that you're involved in right now?
Sure, I'm doing a show. Well, again, we've kind of halted production, so anything in production is sitting there. But we were doing a show in China called Explore China, which is kind of my take on looking at China, not so much from the historical perspective, but more the pop culture, the music, the fashion, the food, the wine, nightlife, what young people are doing there. More like an Anthony Bourdain take on this, but skewed younger. And the host is a guy named Hal Sparks. Hal was one of the hosts of
Hal
Talk
Sparks. Yes, I know Hal. I met Hal many years ago at a party for his friend Chris Jericho, for the AEW wrestler Chris Jericho.
Yep. And so Hal is the host. So it's a 20-part
Nice.
TV series and 20 half hours. And we've shot 13 already, and it's, in post-production. And that's geared to go to, the target would be an Amazon, or Netflix, one of the digital networks. And so we're in the middle of that. We're shooting a series for China called Explore the World, and we just finished shooting in Croatia. So that show has a Chinese host, and we do that show in Mandarin.
Wow.
And then I'm working on another show with a guy named Michael Benaroya from Benaroya Films called Lookbook, which is a throwback to the old nighttime dramas, Dallas Dynasty, Falcon Crest. It's about a New York fashion family that, of course, the kids all fight for who's going to take over when daddy dies and stuff like that. But that's a fun one because that one really blends a lot of e-commerce into the show. So it's not just product placement, but it's all about the fashion industry. So that's going to be an interesting one. And actually, the storylines are written. One of the greatest shows on TV in the longest time, I think, on Netflix is Ozark.
Ozark's a great show.
It's a fabulous show, and so one of the writers from that show has actually written the story for this show. And,
wow.
So those are the main things I'm involved in.
So, obviously right now with the crisis that's going on and every production at a halt, well, pretty much the world at a standstill right now, I'm sure that you probably have already started playing with ideas of how to incorporate, this crisis in a new series, probably.
Yeah, started doing that. And, the other thing that's kind of popped up for me, because I'm this weird blend between, a Hollywood creative and an economist and, a technologist or, whatever, a futurist. And I'm getting a lot of groups, non-media groups, that are actually calling me and asking if I would consult with them on how they could use media and technology to help jumpstart, what hopefully is the new normal. Like people in the fashion business, we used to have fashion weeks and everybody would go to Milan or London or Paris or New York, and the buyers and the designers would meet and, all that. Well, those days are not coming back so quickly. So how does the fashion world relate to the world of buyers? How does the world of retail relate to the consumers and stuff? So I'm finding people from all kinds of things, from organizations to brands, that are coming to me and asking of me if I would consult with them on, what this new world may look like and how they could benefit from it, which is kind of fun for me because I get to learn new stuff.
No, without a doubt. And right now it seems that because Mayor Garcetti here in Los Angeles basically made it clear that any large gatherings such as concerts or sporting events were going to be canceled until 2021. So, that more than likely, obviously, it includes Fashion Week and things like that. I know that you're involved a little bit in fashion. So my question here is, because you have concerts such as Burning Man that are considering doing a virtual concert. You have Coachella that also did kind of like a free documentary on YouTube recently. So I'm wondering, would the fashion industry also be considering doing a virtual fashion week?
I think they have no choice. They gotta do it. But first you gotta really look at the food chain in any industry and realize how it works. So step one in the fashion industry is for designers to really present their new stuff, their new lines to buyers. So it's not to the consumer, but it's the 200,000 or so buyers around the world that used to go to fashion weeks. And, there are a lot of interesting things there because, fashion is something that people want to touch. You have different materials. And so, there's an interesting challenge there. And then once you kind of figure out how to do that, then you got to figure out how you then take that and get the consumers excited, for the products that are going to come. So
Well,
it's going to be, nobody knows the answer. It's going to be interesting trying to find those answers.
I mean, right now at this point, it would seem that now, aside from this being a horrible, horrible event in human history, it also is an opportunity for many people to become more creative and figure out creative ways to market themselves even.
Yeah, I believe that, this is horrible what's going on, but, I think crisis is a catalyst for innovation.
Agreed.
People have to think of new ways of doing stuff. That if this is not a wake up call for the movie business, where before they resisted saying a movie has to open in a movie theater, and now I think they've seen that you could actually open the movie simultaneously between the theater and a Netflix kind of service, and economically you're going to be doing as good if not better.
True. And right now it seems that everybody's doing exactly that, especially with TikTok. TikTok is starting to actually grow. And from what I understand, the executive producer for my show, for the Xander Effect, he had actually mentioned to me a long time ago, he said, man, TikTok has been, because he's in Japan, he's in that part of the world. And he actually said, well, TikTok has been here for the longest time. America's barely getting TikTok, but we've had it here for a long time now.
Well, it started in China. It's a Chinese company behind it. And in a lot of ways, technology stuff is, it's more prevalent on that part of the world than it is here, because they've kind of jumped over technologies there. They never really had a big landline phone system the way we had it here. And it took years and years for people to realize that, with cell technology, you don't need a phone line in your house anymore. And so all kinds of innovative services. I mean, when I started in China, which was just 10 years ago, there was no such thing as checks. Nobody had a check. Very rare did you find someone with a bank account. And then, it became like credit cards. Nobody had a credit card. Then everybody had a credit card. Now, when I go to China, I can't find a store that'll take cash. Forget cash. That ain't happening. But a lot of them won't even take credit cards anymore because everything is done through your cell phone. So every person I know in China, has got, Alipay or, one of the digital currency services on, and everything's done on a telephone, and it's much more efficient.
That's incredible. That's very incredible. Well, times are changing. Everything's changing. What advice would you give to people trying to get into this industry, especially right now? For example, writers. What advice would you give writers that have new television concepts, new scripts, things like that, especially in this world that's changing so much? What advice would you give them in order to get their potential brand new show out there?
Well, I think you got to think, when I got involved in the business, way back, and we used to do like a plan for a new show or anything. We used to think of it like we would weight it 95% US and 5% other. The rest of the world was only 5%, but the US was 95% of the financial equation. Now it's 30% US, 70% being broken up between China, between Russia, Germany, UK, etc. So when you're devising a new product, you got to think beyond how this is going to work just as a US TV show or film, and really think, how is this going to play globally? You want to go to Netflix, and you got to show that it's going to be very US centric and not play well in India or any place else Netflix is. You're going to have a hard time selling it to them because they have a global audience.
Very true.
That's the way all of these guys are going. So you got to think. You got to think globally. You got to think, what's going to make my project stand out and have appeal to a global audience as opposed to a U.S. centric audience. And and then you really need to start thinking about the way people watch TV now and binge watching, and how you have different endings for your shows and all that kind of stuff. And then you got to blend in, e-commerce and the other things, part of the equation.
Agreed. That's actually really good advice. That's very, very intelligent advice right there. So how can people go ahead and stalk you on social media, Larry?
I actually do my Facebook myself. So that's the best, if somebody really wants to talk to me, that I typically will respond to if it's not an openly, here's my script, please read it, which I just don't have the time to do.
Not even in this crisis.
I have, other stuff going, and I've been digital for the longest time. So, I talk to our China office and 2:00 in the morning and do all of that stuff. So, my Facebook is probably the best way. We do have Instagram and all that, but I'll be perfectly honest, those are done by people from the office. They're not really done by me. So.
Gotcha. Well, Larry, thank you so much for your time. I mean, I know you're a busy man. I could stay here and talk to you for a lot longer because you have so much knowledge and so much insight to the world of entertainment. It would be great to continue on, but I know that you're a very busy man. So thank you so much, Larry Namer, for being on the Xander Effect. I hope that, I would love to have you on again as soon as, the industry starts picking back up again.
Sure. Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Take care.
All right. Thank you so much, Larry Namer, for being on the Xander Effect. It was an honor and privilege to have you on the show. In sports news, looks like the NBA players are going to be receiving 25% less in paychecks starting May 15th due to the current crisis that's going on. According to Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, the plan would serve as something of a new escrow account that would return money to the players should all the remaining regular season games be played in a resumption of the season. Otherwise, teams would keep a percentage of the money based on the cancellation of games. The NBA and NBPA will spread out the salary deductions into the first 4 pay periods through November and December of 2020 through 2021 season, sources said. And this is all according. This is from a quote from ESPN.com's senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. So basically, what's going to end up happening is because of the current crisis, it would appear that the NBA will be doing some cuts. Which again, it makes a lot of sense, seeing as that the season is pretty much canceled this year due to the current crisis, and they have to go ahead and make up the difference. No players are playing, so, and nobody's coming in to pay for any tickets, so they had to go ahead and make these type of cutbacks. In other sports news, another organization that has not only decided to do a few cutbacks, but has also released certain people from their roster has been the WWE. Apparently, the WWE is laying off a lot of people and also releasing a lot of superstars, including Kurt Angle, Zack Ryder, Rusev, Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, Heath Slater, Eric Young, Rowan, Sarah Logan, No Way Jose, Mike Kanellis and his wife Maria Kanellis, EC3, Leo Rush, Primo, and Epico. So these are all the superstars that have been released so far. According to some rumors, it would seem that the WWE might be releasing more stars from their rosters in order to be able to make ends meet right now. See, the WWE is really going through a lot of financial situations. Not to mention, they decided to cut back on doing live events and start airing pre-recorded events again. because they used to do that actually a few years back. And amongst all these other issues that have been going on financially, obviously we know that the WWE filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after the XFL went under again. So there's a lot of issues going on with Vince McMahon and the WWE that have been affected due to the coronavirus right now. So it's unfortunate that these things are happening, but they, like everything else, they're going to have to adapt to the certain things that are going on with, of course, not having any fans in the stands, no ticket sales, none of that. A lot of sporting organizations are suffering. There's talks of the NFL having to play their regular season games without any fans. So there's still a lot of issues that need to be dealt with, and this crisis doesn't seem to be letting up anytime soon. So we'll see what happens in the coming months. Up next in video game news, Call of Duty is doing part 2 of Double XP Weekend, and I'm assuming it's due to the fact of the matter of what happened last week. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But first, here is Ian Guerin's Forever Rose, right here on the Xander Effect.
On a night of spring, the world came to know dreams can become true if you always hold. If you let go, true miracles can come. If you are only you. On a night like this, but 15 years ago, star of wisdom came and stroke over the globe. Bringing glory and freeing evil souls, being so tiny but yet irreplaceable. Not like this, but 15 years ago, incomparable was born, bringing joy to the world, not lost in time. What a girl, oh, if you're unselfish and find the way, forever a miracle will come today. Forever, you are a miracle. Forever rose to the sky, to the top, to the stars, to you. Forever rose, you are a miracle. Forever rose to the sky, to the top, to the stars, baby. Today she's turned from a kid to a teen. Today she's turned be 15. Oh, forever rose on the stars, on your night, on
That was Ian Guerin's Forever Rose right here on the Xander Effect. In video game news, looks like Infinity Ward's game Call of Duty Modern Warfare has decided to do a do-over this weekend as far as Double XP weekend is concerned. Obviously, a lot of players got a little upset last weekend, I'm one of them, that they had the Double XP going and, you know, right before the new update came out. Personally, I wanted to go ahead and get some of this stuff going because I wanted to complete the Battle Pass from Season 2, but I didn't get a chance to because there was a lot of disconnects that were happening with the game. I wasn't able to connect to anything. There was a lot of issues that were going on, technical difficulties that were going on with the game, that I even went ahead and I tweeted to Modern Warfare Twitter, and no response back from Infinity Ward, nothing, which I'm still a little upset about because you would think that they would try to at least rectify the situation, but they didn't. So I guess this is their way of making up for it. Double XP weekend, let's hope that it runs smoothly this time around, not like last weekend. And they're offering the Double XP weekend from now until the 20th of April. So Call of Duty players, make sure you take advantage of this. Otherwise, you'll be kicking yourselves in the pants for not taking advantage of Double XP weekend given by Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's the news. In case you haven't heard it, thank you so much for listening. Be safe out there. Remember, practice, proper hygiene. Stay safe. Don't go out unless absolutely positively necessary. And if you do go out, make sure you wear a mask. Make sure you wear goggles if you got them. Latex gloves. Remember to keep yourself safe because we're still in this together, but this too shall pass. I guarantee you that. I'll catch you next time on the Xander Effect. And remember, music always, always heals all.
Live it up. B. Taylor. Flow Rider. Live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. You got the right to live. So go and live it. Live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. Let's start the party. Let's start the party. Live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. You got the right to live. So go and live it. Live it up. Live like it's the night of your life. Let's start the party. Let's start the party. Live it up.
I'm dangerous like tightrope. No talking, not that of a maestro. More like that lizard from Geico.
The Xander Effect is powered by 50/50 Global Music Inc., BMG, and Sony Music The Orchard, in association with Art 19 Media.